All right, everybody, we are live. Hello and welcome to the Void Playground. We are joined today by K. Diddy. You guys know Elijah and you guys know JD, but JD, can you reintroduce yourself for everybody?
Hey everyone, my name is JDL, and I am the content creator for The Void.
Mr. Elijah, can you go ahead and reintroduce yourself as well?
I am Elijah. I have been with the Void for about 2 years now, and I manage the bots and do server maintenance for the Void.
And then last but not least, K. Diddy. Can you go and introduce yourself?
I'm K Diddy. I'm just intern staff for the Void. So
Well, he's not just intern staff. Intern staff plays a huge role in our organization, and they do an amazing job. So, guys, today we're going to be we have a weird topic. I mean, last week's topic was weird, but this week's topic, historical epics. We're going to start with Elijah. Elijah, what was the first historical epic that you've seen?
I don't even know. I wouldn't be able to remember. Depends really on the person's view of historical epics. If someone thinks Harry Potter's one, then there's that. Someone thinks not Elden Rings, Lord of the Rings is one.
Okay, so historical epics. Let's talk about what that means because we're gonna get into the fantasy portion of this later. So historical epics, Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven, Alexander, Troy. Those are historical epics. Even like Master and Commander, stuff from the colonial era. Like those are all kind of historical epics.
So I watched out of all those. There's only one I didn't watch, and it was Alexander. But all the other ones, Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven, Troy. I actually just watched Troy last night.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I watched it a couple days too. Again, did you watch the director's cut or the theatrical cut?
Theatrical, I believe. So one thing I look for in these historical movies, like as these epics, is accuracy in the mythology behind it or the history behind it. If something goes completely off the history, like what actually happened, that will make me hate it pretty much and like be disappointed in it. But as far as Troy goes and Kingdom of Heaven and Gladiator, they do a great job of actually getting the right image and doing the history and everything behind it and mythology, as in Troy.
So we're going to talk about those movies individually. JD, I want to get what is your experience with historical epics?
So out of the ones that you named, I've watched Gladiator, Alexander, and Troy, but it was a long time ago, so I need to rewatch them.
Oh, this is good. Okay, I'm glad. See this. I'm glad that we have a guy who hasn't seen him in a while. This is good. Okay, Diddy. I know you're just kind of dragged in here last minute. What are your thoughts?
I haven't really seen much. I think I've seen Troy before, but it was probably a long time ago. I don't really remember much, but they seem pretty cool. Like I've seen, my dad talks about that kind of stuff a lot. He really enjoys that.
All right, that's good. No, it's good, man. So, we're gonna start off with Kingdom of Heaven. Is that okay, Elijah?
Yes.
When was the last time you saw that one?
Literally about a month and a half ago.
Did you watch the theatrical version or the director's cut?
All theatrical.
Have you ever seen the director's cut?
I didn't even know that was a thing really for most movies. It's like,
okay.
I don't know if I'm missing something because of that.
Dude. Okay, let's just get this out of the way real quick. The director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven is a completely different movie. It is like it's mind-boggling how different it is. It's like 45. No, actually, it's like 45 minutes longer. But it is. Oh, was that?
That's so. Is it stuff that's important to the movie, or is
it's very important to the movie? So for example, like Ava Green's character, like her son has like kind of a little side plot to it.
Oh wow! I mean, that's one thing that would be nice to actually have in the movie for something important.
Oh no, dude! Like the theatrical cut versus the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven is insanely different. Like the quality is just it's so different. It's oh my god, guys! I glazed over Kingdom of Heaven because I'm like, it's like it got really bad reviews. Nobody liked it. I'm a big Ridley Scott fan, obviously, but like it kind of got glazed over. You know what I mean?
I personally don't pay attention to views because I mostly hate other people's opinions when it comes to movies.
Oh, interesting.
Like I have a friend who won't watch any superhero movies now because he thinks they're all like copies of other ones and terrible, and everything's just going downhill. But like my opinion of movies is usually completely opposite of what people think.
Okay, so and now it's not quite as dramatic, but the Troy director's cut is significantly better as well. The Troy director's cut has about, I think, 15 more minutes of additional footage. The scene where they're like pillaging Troy is much more graphic, but also there's a lot more development as well in there. And then, of course, we all know Gladiator. Okay, we all know Gladiator. We've all seen Gladiator. I've never actually seen the director's cut of Gladiator, or maybe the extended edition. I think it only adds 3 minutes, so it's not really significant. But it's interesting to me, like JD and KDD, maybe you can attest to this, but like historical epics have kind of died. It's kind of a dead genre. Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
I would agree to an extent, but that's only because a lot of the main events that have happened have already been covered by movies. And it's hard. And once there's a hit movie on it, it's hard to top that.
True.
So,
Very true.
JD, what are your thoughts?
It's mostly the same.
KDD?
I mean, like I said, I haven't really seen much on it. I don't think I've seen any trailers for like big historical epics in a while, so.
Yeah, no, that's good that you mentioned that. So, so this is what happened, guys. Okay, we're going to give you a little bit of a movie history lesson. So in the 2000s, okay, there was 2 movies that came out that basically, the swords and sandals genre, like, was kind of, it had been dead really since even, I mean, you had some stuff in the 80s, you had like, what was it, Clash of the Titans and stuff like that, but the 90s, it was fantasy and sword and sandal stuff was just kind of done. You know what I mean? And so Gladiator came out, right, in 2000, and all of a sudden there was like a boom, like an arms race, right? And a lot of the movies that we just talked about, Kingdom of Heaven, obviously that's another Ridley Scott movie, but you had Troy, you had 300, you had Alexander, you had these movies coming out.
There's a 300, which is very popular.
Yeah, 300 is really good. I don't know how historically accurate it is, but I personally like the movie.
It is pretty, I would say, accurate to almost to the dot.
I heard that the portrayal of the Persians wasn't exactly. I don't know.
Wouldn't necessarily agree. It's like I think they portrayed the Spartans very well, and they set it up so it shows the history in it, like exactly what happened. Like of course, there's 300 Spartans defending off the entire Persian army. And
but like I guess my point is they kind of like in that movie. Have you seen 300, JD?
Yes, I have. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, see, look, there we go. Look at this. We're back in the race. KDD, have you seen 300?
No.
It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get to the fan. K Diddy is this. I like K Diddy here because he's gonna learn something, and we got a lot of good stuff going. So, why is a 300 one of your favorite movies, JD?
For me, it's the most memorable one.
I can agree with
That's
that.
why.
I mean, like, okay, so kind of going back to the history lesson. So there was kind of an arms race in the 2000s to get out as much fantasy and historical epics as humanly possible. Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, I think, both came out in 2001, as far as the movies go, right? You did have the animated Lord of the Rings movies, previously, but the live action Lord of the Rings movies, that started in 2001. And, right now, the most popular genre of film is obviously superhero movies. We get superhero movies left and right. In the 2000s, it was actually fantasy because of Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
But you also had, so Elijah, you know more about this. Like, what like what fantasy like stuff like what fantasy movies like other than Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. Like there's obviously Narnia was pretty big at that time.
There's Narnia, and I would consider Percy Jackson a fantasy to an extent.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, Percy Jackson for sure.
I would also put it in the epics, since it's based off Greek mythology.
Interesting.
And
But
that's also the
it's-
reason why I like 300, because it's loosely like the Spartans are like historically part of the Greek mythology line.
Sure. K Diddy, what's your experience with Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter? I know we talked about that a little bit. What's your kind of experience with that?
So when I was like younger, I was like, I don't know, my parents like really enjoyed watching Harry Potter and stuff, and then I thought it would be pretty boring, so I never got an interest in like watching that. And then one day I decided to watch like the first movie, and then all of a sudden I was like addicted to it, and I had to watch all the other ones. But I don't remember like everything that happened, but I definitely enjoyed Harry Potter. I don't think I ever got into Lord of the Rings though.
Thank you for that. So like my okay, this is gonna date me. I've seen every single Harry Potter movie in theaters upon their release.
Same.
And so my first experience with Harry Potter was the books actually. But here's the thing, guys. Okay, I'm gonna confess on the Void Playground podcast right now. Okay, I didn't read the Harry Potter books until I was like in my 20s, guys.
I mean,
Yeah, I've
put
never read them.
perspective. I didn't
Here's-
read them until I was like 10.
Okay, here's why. Okay, I'm gonna explain why. So oh god, I was like in middle school, and the first movie was coming out, and I was also going to read the first book, but I'm like, well, why am I going to just spoil the whole movie for myself? And then so I just stopped.
Because the movies can't tell everything in the book.
It's true.
Exactly.
It's true. But, well, I mean, okay. So with the first two Harry Potter movies, like they're very very similar to the books, in my opinion.
In a way, yes, but they're missing like a lot of stuff too.
Like I like for the first two movies, and the first two books, I think they're actually the most of the Harry Potter movies. I think they're the most accurate. That's just my opinion, though. Elijah, what are your
the
thoughts?
shortest. They were the shortest books by far. Same
For
thing
sure.
same thing with the third one. Actually, I would add the third one to that. It's book number 4, where the books get to be 800 pages long.
Yeah. So number 4, like they remove the Sphinx, right? They remove a lot of interesting stuff, like the elves, like the whole house elf like subplots. They kind of
Yes.
remove that. Yeah, actually, they removed a lot of stuff now that I think about it. From the fourth
Exactly.
book.
That's why you need to read the books. People that say they've watched the movie but haven't read the books, it's like they're off my list for that stuff. It's like,
To be
I don't-
fair, Elijah, I've read all the Harry Potter books. To be fair, I've read
which
them
is
all.
good.
I got around to it.
You miss a lot of info when you don't read the books.
Exactly.
I can agree with that. Now let me ask you this, Elijah. Elijah, you're a big fantasy like book person, right?
Yes.
Okay. What is your I know you've told me this before, but what's your favorite fantasy series?
It'll
Of
have to be
books?
the Immortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare.
Cassandra Clare, Immortal
It's-
Instruments. How many books are in that series?
Well, it's 4 series actually now. She actually just put out her 3rd and final book of her 4th series, which all connects to the first one, to the Mortal Instruments. But after that, there's 3 others, one sequel and 2 prequels to the main series. So the first series it's not necessarily my favorite, but I'll put it in my top. I'll put it definitely in my top 5 book series, right under the sequel to it, which is called The Last Hours.
Oh wow, interesting. So okay, so that's a series that's not like ingrained in our culture. You know what I mean?
They did make a movie and a show of it, but I think they mutilated the show so badly that I wouldn't even watch the first episode.
Oh wow, interesting, very interesting. K Diddy, like, what's your experience? Like, I know, like, obviously, like, do you like watch shows and stuff like that, like on stream? Like, do you watch like any sword fantasy type stuff on streaming or anything like that?
Not that I remember. No.
So you know what's interesting
Unfortunately.
to me is no, it's all good, dude. This is what's interesting to me. So going back to the historical epics, right? So we got some really good ones. So there was one that came out in 2021 called The Last Duel, also directed by Ridley Scott. Have you seen that movie, Elijah?
What was it called again?
The Last Duel.
I have not. I have not heard of that.
Stars Adam Driver and Matt Damon. That one was really good, but it bombed at the box office. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like that's why I would say like historical epics are kind of dead, is because like you get like an amazing movie, like really good. I would actually say better than it was just really good. Honestly, it was one of the best movies of the
So
year.
was it an epic or was it a fantasy?
It was an epic. It was a.
What was
I
it
don't even know if it
about?
was an epic, but it was just like a medieval. Yeah, I guess you could call it an epic, but it was like
part of the reason why certain movies do better than others is one, they either have a big book backing it, so you have all those millions of people that bought the book and liked the book that are going to go see the movie because they have to, of course. It's their favorite book and everything. They have to go see the movie. And two, I would say if it's a famous piece of history, like Troy and Gladiator and the 300.
okay, but here's the thing, though. Okay, Troy was, once again, it wasn't well received. I mean, it did make money, but I think, okay, Elijah, if you like Troy, I think a really underrated movie is Alexander. I think that movie's really underrated. If you're gonna watch it, watch the ultimate cut. Don't watch the director's cut. I mean, the director's cut's good, but like, watch the ultimate cut of Alexander. That movie it's directed by Oliver Stone.
2004.
Yeah, that movie is incredibly good. It got panned by critics though, because Colin Farrell's Irish and all this stuff. But that one's really good if you guys get the chance. So in the video gaming world, like obviously a lot of modern games have been affected by I think Lord of the Rings was kind of like the genesis of all of it. Has anyone here played like any of the Warcraft games?
I have not.
Interesting.
Long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah. I'm a big Warcraft 3 fan. I'm a big strategy fan.
I think
Like
it's
Age of
That was
Empires.
that was like before my time, like sort of before my time. Like I didn't get my first Xbox until I was actually I had a family Xbox 360, but I didn't get my own Xbox One until I was in ninth grade about.
Yeah, so I find it interesting, and K Diddy, I find it interesting that like a lot of this, because I mean JD and I are obviously significantly older than both you guys, but it's interesting because like, I mean JD, K Diddy, you probably know like what kind of movies do you like to watch? I'm just curious, K Diddy.
Well, it's kind of the typical or stereotypical type of stuff. Like I love the like Marvel stuff because that was like what I grew up on like watching because like it's very action filled and stuff, but yeah, it's very stereotypical because of my age.
No, K Diddy, that's okay, man. Oh god, guys, this is also I've seen every Marvel movie in theaters, every Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. And I'm personally a little fatigued. I also watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. I kind of grew up with those. And then, but also as a kid, I remember watching like the Tim Burton Batman. You know what I mean? And so, like KD, it's good. That I think we can only what we know, right? And I just find it interesting, like going back to. I think like one of the downsides of Marvel is people like I'm kind of part of the problem, right? Like I'll just go out and see it because it's Marvel. Like, do you guys find yourself doing that?
Yeah,
I do that, but at the same time, I don't. It depends on the Marvel movie.
I mean, okay, look, I'll be straight with you guys. I did not care about Iron Man. Okay,
Hey,
I mean, it's not that I like.
It wasn't a bad movie, but I think the Captain America movies were better.
Here's the thing: I didn't
hey,
care about Captain America, right? Like, I didn't care about. I didn't care about any of these. Spider-Man was like my dude, right? And Hulk and She-Hulk and things like that. But because of the Marvel movies, I then got an appreciation for Iron Man, right? I mean, I'd watched the '90s show, like the cartoon.
I mean, Spider-Man at that time that you're probably watching wasn't even Marvel.
It wasn't.
It was Sony. back then.
No. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, so let's get our story straight. So Marvel was a dying company, right? And they licensed out all of their characters to other studios and things like that. So actually at the time, actually let me see who produced Spider-Man. Speaking of the 2001, Spider-Man also I believe came out that year. So oh yeah, so Sony. Yeah, Sony was the distributor. Yeah. But they still have to use the Marvel name, right? So for their
I don't remember. It was a long time I watched Sony Spider-Mans. I don't remember if they put Marvel on it or not.
Okay, so fun fact: all the Spider-Mans from the Raimi ones up until now are all Sony.
Yes.
Marvel and Sony worked out a deal to where they can make the Tom Holland ones. But before that, you had the Andrew Garfield ones. Which, sorry guys, I mean I love Andrew Garfield. I love him.
You know, I prefer him over Tobey Maguire.
See, I prefer Tobey Maguire over Garfield.
I find Andrew Garfield the better actor.
The reason why you guys prefer Tobey Maguire over Andrew Garfield is because of the storyline. Andrew Garfield is a good actor, but again, the director, the script writer, like it was just bad writing. That's the reason why.
Elijah likes Andrew Garfield better than Toby. Now, okay,
I'm
so
just saying that's the reason why a lot of people shit on Andrew Garfield. It's because of like how the movie turned out.
You know what a really good movie with Andrew Garfield is Tick, Tick, Boom.
I watched it, yes.
It's a really good movie. I love that movie.
It's very confusing at first, but once you realize what's going on, it is a great movie.
So, I mean, like, I don't know. For me, okay, Elijah, have you seen Legend?
I don't think so. I feel like I have. Like, it's like I know that name.
Okay,
but I don't think so.
Fun fact, K. Diddy and JD, it was also directed by Ridley Scott, but it is Tom Cruise. I think it's his only fantasy movie. Like Tom Cruise plays like kind of like a woodland.
I think
woodland type dude.
From
I think he was in another one.
Tom Cruise? I mean, he was in The Last Samurai, but that's
what I was about to say. That's what I was thinking. I just wanted to double check that. Yes,
but no. I mean, I think Legend is the only fantasy movie proper that he's ever done. Katie, were you going to say something?
Yeah. Are you talking about the one from 2015?
No, Legend from 1980. I think it's like 84, 85, 86, somewhere. It's right before Tom Cruise did Top Gun. The one from 2015 is with oh god, what's his face? Tom Hardy, and he plays the twins. It's like kind of a gangster movie.
Yeah, that's the one I was seeing. Okay, I think I found it now. 1985.
Yeah, that one. So, fun fact: like a lot of these movies from the 80s, 90s, and 2000, even now, actually, a lot of studio interference. You know what I mean? So, Legend has an American cut, an English cut, like a you know, like UK, and then it has the ultimate cut or whatever. And if you're gonna watch that movie, watch the ultimate cut.
I don't even know where to find the ultimate cut.
I don't know. It's an amazing movie though. It's very like fairy tale. Tim Curry's in it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise. It's bizarre. Like I don't know. Like, see, I have an affinity for 80s fantasy. Like, have you seen Conan, the Barbarian?
Do they have an animated version
of what?
Of Conan the Barbarian?
No.
I think they have I'm almost positive there's an animated version. Maybe someone made it to make fun of it.
I mean, there's Masters of the Universe. There's that one. That's like He-Man. But I don't think they would make Conan's too violent. I mean, I guess they do make a lot of violent shows, but I don't know, it's one of those. It's I don't know, it's tough cuz like a lot of movies that we're talking about, specifically I would say Legend and Alexander, have been kind of forgotten to like history, right? Like it's like no one really knows about those movies except people that do know about them. Even though Ridley Scott's he's a very talented director. Blade Runner, obviously, and Aliens. And
Another underrated movie I have to say is Clash of Titans,
which one?
the recent one.
I watched that one, and then what was the sequel to that? There was Clash of Titans, and then
Wrath of Titans.
Right, that Wrath of Titans. So I remember watching those movies, and yeah, I liked them. Elijah, what did you think about the modern remakes of Clash of Titans?
I never watched them.
Oh, interesting. See, like as a guy who likes Greek mythology,
there's still a lot of movies I haven't watched. Some of them I don't. So there's a lot of movies I don't even know about. It's like I didn't even think of watching Troy until yesterday.
We were talking about it. I
Exactly. It's like you told me about Troy. I was like, I'm gonna watch it, and I did.
Oh,
so I had to watch
yeah.
Alexander.
Oh man, that movie's so good. But once again, ultimate cut. So there's the there's the theatrical cut of Alexander, the director's cut of Alexander, the final cut, which apparently wasn't the final cut because then they made the ultimate cut, which I would argue is the superior version of the movie. I had seen the movie when I was a kid, but I didn't really care. You know what I mean? Like I think Gladiator of all these movies that we're talking about, I think Gladiator had probably the biggest impact on me. So I was 8 when Gladiator came out, and I was probably like 15. Or no, I was 17. Oh no, I was 14 when 300 came out.
2006, I believe, right?
7. I think it was 7.
Mm-hmm.
You're dating
I'm 34% sure.
Let's look it up. 2006, yes.
Oh, it's 06?
Yep, by Zack Snyder.
Oh, never mind, guys. So I was way too young to be watching 300.
All of us were too young to watching 300.
I was too young to be watching a lot of these movies.
I think we all start watching movies a little too young.
I snuck into 300. I remember that specifically with my friends.
No, that's a move I've never done before.
Yeah, we snuck into 300. We snuck into Saw 4 as well.
Yeah. The days of sneaking into movies.
It was so fun. I think like literally Saw and 300 are the only two I've snuck into.
I snuck into Final Destination.
Okay, so
that was the worst mistake ever.
Oh, you know why I thought it was 2007?
What?
Because that was it got released March 9th, 2007 in the USA.
Okay.
Because I remember we were going to go see Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, but we snuck into 300 instead.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Elijah, what'd you think about Rise of an Empire? What'd you think about like 300 Rise of an Empire?
I saw it. I was going to watch it, but at first I was thinking maybe I wasn't sure what it was about. I wasn't sure if it would be something worth watching or it would get me disappointed and like get mad.
It's definitely not as good as the first one, but it's definitely worth watching, in my opinion.
Is it a continued thing or is it sort of like a documentary?
It's a continued.
I remember
it's a sequel.
I remember at the end of the 300, the first one, they were like all the Spartans are like about to go to war. Like the last scene is them all like in a battlefield.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you, but you should definitely watch 300 Rise of an Empire. JD, as 300 is one of your favorite movies, what were your thoughts on the sequel?
I did not like it as much.
Interesting.
That's all.
Yeah, I didn't like it as much either, but I mean, I definitely thought it was a good watch. Yeah, no, it's interesting because I think it's just weird today because like everyone has like a different taste in movies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we all kind of watch the same movies. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Like, like Kid Diddy was saying, like we all like kind of watch Marvel movies. Because that's kind of what we grew up with. But I don't know, man. There's something magical, or okay, no pun intended. But there's something cool about like the really brutal parts of human history. Like the Crusades and the medieval era. The ancient era. Hey, you know what's really cool, actually, Elijah? Alexander, like they're two completely different movies, but like Alexander actually references Troy in the movie, because it takes place like Alexander, like they kind of he admires Achilles. You know what I mean?
I mean, yes,
And
Achilles
so-
was known as one of the greatest warriors of the Greek world.
Yeah, and so it was just interesting to me because it's like boom, you watch Troy, and then I don't know, it's just kind of cool, but trying to think of what else there is. Hey, you know what a really good like kind of fun little adventure movie is if you guys haven't seen it? The Count of Monte Cristo. Have you guys seen that one?
I have not heard of
No.
that one, actually.
Dude, that one's amazing. Dude, if you haven't seen Count of Monte Cristo, it's got Guy Pearce in it. It's amazing. It is amazing. Like that movie is just it's so good.
So I'm gonna say something controversial.
I'm
and
listening.
What is it? An unpopular opinion. I did not like the recent Batman movie.
All right, I'm out. All right, the podcast is over, guys. I'm just kidding now. All right, so
I had to say I do not agree with that.
I personally loved it,
I think
but
it was the best Batman.
JD. No, we're gonna say Elijah. Sorry,
I think it's the best Batman they made so far.
I don't know
I
about
agree.
that. But
No.
Yes,
I
and I can
agree
tell
with
you
that.
why. All the other Batmans, they portray him as some person with like superhuman powers that can't be killed or hurt and never lose or anything.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Elijah.
No,
But
I disagree with that.
JD, why do you not like the new Batman?
Okay, it's not like I did not like it. I like the storyline, but the person playing Bruce Wayne, I did not like.
Interesting.
Because for me, okay, unpopular
You
opinion.
don't like Edward?
Do you not like Twilight?
No, that's the thing. I do not see him as Bruce Wayne. The only person I see him as is Edward Collins. That's it.
Okay, so this is my humble opinion. Okay, as a longtime Batman fan, I think the best like in costume Batman is probably Ben Affleck. That's just my opinion. Granted, you have to understand, I grew up in this weird in between time, right? So I grew up with obviously Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, and George Clooney. Okay, so I do have nostalgia for those, the Joel Schumacher, Tim Burton Batman movies.
Mhm.
But also, I was still young enough to enjoy Christian Bale, right? So I was 12 or 13 when Batman Begins came out. And Christian Bale was a good Bruce Wayne. I thought he was a good...
The Christian Bale ones are my favorite ones.
Oh, they're definitely good. I saw those. I saw The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises in theaters. I didn't get to see the first one in theaters. We watched, I think, Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed or something like that instead. But yeah, I mean, okay, so Elijah, you have to understand there's different eras of Batman, right? So Batman, he started in the 30s, so the character's gone through so many iterations, Like you have like kind of the...
I've seen one of them that was like, I don't remember which one it was, but I mean, my friend, his parents have a lot of the old movies. And like we just decided to watch one of the old Batmans.
So when you say the old Batmans, the first one started in the 60s. So what?
It was like one of those that had like I'm pretty sure one of those like the bubbles on the screen that showed like not the sound effect. Is it a sound effects?
Yeah,
like when they get hit, like they'll hit a bad guy and like.
Okay, so that's like Adam West. That's like the Adam West Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Basically one of those types.
So I think that each one has its kind of like there's the charm, right? So with the Michael Keaton one in 1989, no one had seen anything like that at the time, right? Like no one had seen, kind of a serious adaptation of Batman, and it was cool, right? Granted, I wasn't alive or I didn't exist, but I did see the movie many times, and until Heath Ledger, like no one can beat Jack Nicholson as the Joker, right? That's what everybody was saying. And Heath Ledger, people are like, Heath Ledger? That's so random. Like, why him? Obviously, now we know it was a really good performance, but and then so the Tim Burton ones had elements of the wacky zany ones, you know what I mean? And then the Joel Schumacher ones kind of like amped it up. You know, Batman and Robin is considered one of the worst movies of all time. But without Batman and Robin, we wouldn't have gotten the Dark Knight trilogy. You know what I mean? Obviously we had Batman the animated series. Like I think they're all charming in their own way. A gun to my head, I would say The Dark Knight is the overall best Batman movie.
Hell yeah.
KTD, would you disagree with that?
I'm gonna have to disagree with that. I've watched all the Dark Knight movies, and I still think the new one's better.
Okay.
It was just something about the new one. I don't know. It was really good.
Okay. The new one is, I would argue, the second best Batman movie. But I really think, okay, The Dark Knight. First of all, without The Dark Knight, there wouldn't be a new Batman movie. But let's talk about The Dark Knight for a
Dark
second.
Knight and The Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight, not The Dark Knight Rises. So
The second movie.
I
The
forgot
Dark-
which one who was the bad guy in that one? I forgot.
the Joker.
That was the
Joker.
Joker. That was Heath Ledger, right?
Yes. So
Yes.
let's talk about the Christopher Nolan. First of all, Christopher Nolan is a really great director, but the reason why the Dark Knight trilogy was so good is kind of like the 1989 Batman. Like things had gotten so wacky and zany, but like that they're like, we got to make a really serious, like true crime noir detective not detective, crime movie, right? So here's my problem with the Matt Reeves Batman, which is the newest one. I love it. Okay, I love it, but here's the problem. Have you seen Seven, KDD?
I have not.
Have you seen The Zodiac?
I have not seen that either, unfortunately.
Okay, so the new Batman is so in the 1970s, Batman was like a detective, basically. And that's kind of where they were coming from with this new one.
And yeah, that's what they portrayed in it. That's what I like. Like he wasn't like some superhero that knew where to go automatically. He went to the scene of the crime, looked around for clues, then he left.
Yeah, I'm not saying the movie's bad, Elijah. I'm not saying the movie's bad.
Yeah,
the movie's
yeah, I know
my second favorite Batman movie, but I'm just trying to illustrate like a point. So I think what makes The Dark Knight like in my humble opinion, a better movie is I think the performances are better. Obviously, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, I thought that was a really good performance, but for me, like The Dark Knight specifically. Now, I'm not saying The Dark Knight Rises or Batman Begins, but The Dark Knight, like across the board, had really great performances from all the actors. The cinematography, the music was really great in The Dark Knight. I just think it was the complete package. That's just my opinion. Now, some people will say, well, Space Muffin, you grew up with The Dark Knight. Like when you were 16, that was the big movie. And that's true. That's true. But, you know, okay, so I'll give you an example of like something newer that I like, right? That is, where I don't like the older one. That's actually it's like the Tom Holland Spider-Mans, right? I like the Raimi ones. I grew up with the Raimi ones, but I think the Tom Holland movies are superior movies. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
True.
in the way of screenwriting and action, definitely.
Well, I mean, okay, but you have to understand, like, when the Sam Raimi movies were made, superhero movies, like, you're a nerd, like, nobody cares. Like, having said that, they were immensely popular, but they weren't, it wasn't like you don't wear a Spider-Man shirt, like, and then, not be made fun of, right? During that time period. And so superhero movies at the time, so like, okay, so that was the 2000s. So you had Hulk, you had Blade. Blade came out in 1998. That's really what started this whole thing, was actually Blade, but we'll kind of get to that. But so you had stuff like that, but you have to understand, like, superhero movies were really campy. Like, they were really jank, really like Batman 1989, like really it kind of changed like the jank, but then we got like Batman and Robin, right? Like other random superhero movies that no one talks about. There are comic book movies. There's The Shadow with Alec Baldwin is really good. The Phantom is really good, and that's like more like 30s like serial stuff, like serial radio drama type stuff, pulp magazine type stuff.
One of the older movies is also I believe there's a Daredevil movie.
Yeah, so the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck. Now that one was very poorly received. I like the
Oh, yeah.
theatrical version, but you know what? Watch the director's cut, Elijah. It's way better.
Always the director's cut. Always,
Not always.
That's
The
what I'm
director's
learning.
cut of Donnie Darko is not as good.
but I don't know what that is. So
Oh, never
Yeah.
mind. Okay. Yeah, no, there's some director's cuts that aren't as good. Actually, we're gonna have to do a whole episode on that. But I mean, I don't know, K Diddy. Like, I hope I'm bringing up, at least a valid point of why I like The Dark Knight or why I think it's a better movie. Having said that,
Yeah.
I think the Matt Reeves new Batman movie is definitely a close second. Right? It's different. It takes like Seven or like the Zodiac Killer movie, and it just it makes it I know Batman's the setting, right? And it does that, So,
Yeah, again, like for me, the storyline was good. The only problem is I couldn't get over the fact that Robert Pattinson was in their movie.
yeah. I mean, for me, like Bruce Wayne has never really been the most interesting character in a Batman movie.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I mean, I don't know. Like, see, for me, like the reason why I like Ben Affleck so much is I don't know. Like a lot of people hated him as Batman. And granted, those movies weren't amazing. I guess if you watch the ultimate cut of Batman vs Superman, like that one's pretty decent. But
I refuse to watch that
I refuse to watch that too.
why do you guys refuse?
because of they kill Superman off. I know they revive him later in the what is it called? What's that movie called? Actually, I just watched
Justice
it.
League?
Yeah, Justice League.
What version of
I
Justice
literally-
League did you watch?
The one where they revive him. I forgot which one it's called. I think it's the first one.
Okay. There's only one. There's the Snyder cut, the director's cut of Justice League, which is completely different than the theatrical cut of Justice League.
What's the difference? Are they the same movie or are they separate movies?
They are the exact same movie, but totally separate.
So
If you haven't watched Zack Snyder's Justice League, then you are missing out on one of the best superhero movies ever made.
it is good. I don't know about best.
No. Okay, I'm talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm not talking about the theatrical cut of Justice League.
Yeah, I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League.
The 4-hour cut.
The 4 hours, maybe not, but it's still Zack Snyder's, isn't it?
Okay, no. Okay, so Zack Snyder's daughter, he had a tragedy. His daughter passed away during the filming of Justice League. So Joss Whedon, who directed the first two Avengers movies, he directed Justice League, and they did a lot of reshoots, and so he wasn't able to finish the movie. And so there was a campaign on Twitter and online to release the Snyder cut. And so they gave him $40 million to finish the movie, basically.
Wow.
So they did a bunch of reshoots, but it's definitely a much better movie, in my humble opinion. And I would argue that the fact that it exists, like, I mean, it's so good. It's so good.
I guess sort of back to it. It's like I don't like that they killed DC's pretty much main character, I would argue.
Okay, so here's the thing about Superman. A lot of people don't like Henry Cavill as Superman.
I think I won't. I don't like any other Superman person as Superman.
So I would. This is one of those situations where I do believe that Henry Cavill is the best Superman. I watched Smallville. I've watched the Superman and Lois. Obviously, I watched Christopher Reeves. I watched Superman Returns. And here's the thing, guys. Okay. The reason why people don't like Henry Cavill, or they didn't like Henry Cavill initially, is because he kind of portrays a more darker Superman, a more, I don't know, he's just not like, just this paragon, like this. I don't know. It's like he's different. You know what I mean? And that's what I kind of like. I kind of like the fact that we're doing something different, And so when they kill him, I mean, it didn't. To me personally, it didn't hurt me that much. I mean, it was sad when it happened in the movie, but they fixed it.
I mean,
I don't know.
they probably didn't have a choice. They needed him back. It's like,
What?
but like, why go through all that to kill him off just to revive him in a different movie?
Well, yeah. I mean,
And wasn't it a very hated movie because of that?
which one? Batman vs Superman?
Yes.
Well, the
Also,
problem
the
with
fact that they combined 2 storylines into one movie.
That's another one, yes. But
look, guys, there's no question that the early DCEU movies were rushed. No one's questioning that. I think we all can agree that they were rushed. Maybe they should have made individual movies, but I think they did the best with what they had. And I think as an entertainment product, right, as something that's not Marvel, as something that, I like Zack Snyder as a director. I think that they did a really good job actually with what they had. Now, they're rebooting the DCEU to some level. They're have you guys seen Black Adam?
I have, yes.
KD, did you see Black
I
Adam?
watched it twice actually.
I have not.
Okay, never mind. I don't want to spoil anything for Black Adam, but
Come on, you guys gotta
no,
you gotta watch it.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I don't know. It's just sad, guys. I'll just put it that way. It's really sad, and as a fan of superhero movies, like my whole life, and I'm not going to sit here and say that, I did read a couple Spider-Man comic books, and I did read a lot of comic books when I was a kid, but I'm not going to say I'm a comic book expert.
I mean,
I'm not going to sit here and.
I've never read a comic book.
I appreciate you saying that, Elijah. Like I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, Spider-Man issue 22, like, during this run. I'm like, I'm not. I don't know.
That's sort of why I don't want to read a comic book, because all these movies that they're not necessarily following exactly. A lot of their movie stuff comes from the comics.
Now, to be fair, Elijah, you did say that you miss a lot if you don't read the books.
You do, but at the same time, there's way too many comic books, and there's way too many what ifs, and I'd just be sitting through the movie saying, why don't they just do that or do this, and like make it a better movie because of that.
Okay, so the cool thing about comic books is this turned into a comic book episode, but the cool thing about comic books, speaking of 300, is you don't have to start from the very beginning. You know what I mean? Like, you can pick an artist or an author, and then like kind of read their stories, right? And then it'll all still make sense. So, for example, with She-Hulk, right? There's the Savage She-Hulk, which was the first, I think 1980 or 81 is when that came out. But then there was the John Burns run, right? The Sensational She-Hulk, which the character kind of changes, right? And I haven't read the Savage She-Hulk, but I've read the Sensational She-Hulk. And then Dan Slott did a She-Hulk as well. So, like, you don't have to just be locked into one, like, oh, I got to start from 1966 or whatever with Spider-Man or whatever superhero, I don't know. For me, I when I was reading comic books as a kid, like, and this is why I like Spawn so much, because like Frank Miller, like, it like popped out of the page. We need another Spawn movie, by the way. Frank Miller, or not Frank Miller. Oh my goodness, I have his image in my head. Image comic book Spawn. Todd McFarlane. There we go. We need a Spawn movie, like a
Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, Todd McFarlane.
Is he related to Seth?
No. Todd McFarlane made Spawn.
I mean, you just keep name dropping movies that I'm gonna watch now.
Dude, Spawn is one of my favorite superheroes, but Todd McFarlane like is one of my favorite like comic book artists. Like, if not my favorite. Actually, you know what? Yeah, Todd McFarlane's my favorite because his art style, like, it pops off the page. You know what I mean? So like he did a Batman run. He did some stuff with he did a Spider-Man run, and then he created Spawn, which is just amazing. If you're gonna watch Spawn, I don't know what the best version of Spawn to watch. It's a really jank movie, dude. Like, Spawn is super jank. But it has John Leguizamo in it, and he is amazing in that movie. Hey, K Diddy, have you seen John Wick?
I have not. I was actually gonna go see about seeing if my dad had it next weekend.
Actually, they're coming with a fourth one soon.
Yeah, they are coming up with a fourth one. I was just curious. Yeah, John Wick's pretty sweet.
They're definitely good movies. I agree.
Hey Diddy, we're gonna have to have you on a podcast where you know more. That's what we're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
We'll
No,
put
but
it
this
up
is
as
good
more.
though. Like I think like people who are watching this. Okay, like anyone who's watching the podcast right now or listening to it, go watch the director's cut of Alexander. Oh, sorry, not that. No, sorry. Not the director's cut. Go watch the ultimate cut of Alexander. Watch the director's cut of Troy. Go watch Gladiator. Watch the ultimate cut or the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven, and you'll be good.
And make
You know
sure
what I
you read
mean?
the Harry Potter book before you watch the movie.
I'm sure most people have, unfortunately, probably already watched all the Harry Potter. Hey, you know what another good one is, Elijah? That Wheel of Time. Have you heard of that franchise?
I have a book, something. I don't know if it's called A Wheel of Time. Let me look. I have
It's-
a book about something with time.
It's written by Robert Jordan, and it's basically the Lord of the Rings of. It's basically the Lord. It's basically like the Lord of the Rings of our generation. I guess Harry Potter technically is, but it's high fantasy.
Robert
you know?
Jordan.
Yeah, it's written by Robert Jordan.
I have not read those yet.
They made a Amazon Prime series.
I remember seeing that actually.
It's got Rosamund Pike.
Did it end up coming out? I haven't heard anything about it since I saw like the promotion.
Dude, it's been out. It's like been out for so long.
It looked really good in the preview and everything. And
I thought it was pretty good. I mean,
Trailer.
obviously, they don't have the budget that Rings of Power had, but you know, it was still pretty good.
yeah, I mean, everyone seemed to hate Rings of Power.
I actually hot take, guys. I liked Rings of Power.
Me too.
Okay,
I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was kind of fun. But then again, so another weird. I know we have like limited time, guys, but another thing that I find really weird is fandoms hate the thing the most. I think we kind of talked a little bit about that in the Star Wars podcast, but like Alien fans hate the new Alien movie, even though it was directed by Ridley Scott.
Prey, the movie.
No, not Prey. Like
Prey?
they probably hate Prey too, but like Star Wars fans hate all the new Star Wars stuff, right? Like Lord of the Rings fans hate Rings of Power.
I'd arguably say I don't hate the seventh movie of Star Wars. The last two is where they started getting sort of out of the picture.
Elijah, you should have been on our last podcast. Okay,
I feel
Maybe I should have been.
like I'm one of those people too, because like I'm a huge Marvel fan, but like recently some of the movies and series that have come out, like I have not enjoyed like at all.
I don't know, man. It's tough, guys.
It
So yeah,
really
K Diddy,
is.
what it is we remember. Like, I think Phase 3 was the best phase, even though Phase 1 and 2. Hot take: I did not like the first two Avengers movies.
I didn't either.
The
I thought
one
they
with
were kind of
Loki and
boring.
Ultron.
I did not. Yeah, I did not
Yeah.
like
Loki
I
was
think-
good. Ultron,
Which one?
Loki, the one with Loki, the first Avenger movie.
I like the one with Ultron more, but both of them are kind of boring in my eyes compared to Infinity War and Endgame.
So for me, it's less about being boring and more about like I think the first movie takes place in one day, and it's too much. It's like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, like that opening scene where it's just like it just keeps. Granted, okay, for the record, Temple of Doom is my favorite Indiana Jones movie, but I don't know the first two Avengers movies, and I thought Age of Ultron like it kind of suffered from like that same problem. Now Infinity War, you know, like Infinity War and Endgame are kind of the same story, two different movies. You get a little breathing space, especially in Endgame.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean, K Diddy. Like, I mean, I'm leaving. I have to go do some traveling for work, and I do not want to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp. You know what I mean?
Yeah, neither do I.
I'm going to
But-
to opening night.
But see, I know, but my friends want to go, so I'm going. I'm just like, ugh.
I normally
Wait,
don't
the
care about
new
going to
Ant-Man
opening
movie?
nights. I don't mind waiting a few weeks or even a few months for it to leave theaters. But I mean, my friends wanted to go, and I
Dude,
just got to join them.
I remember. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to break my Marvel streak, but it's like I can't. They won't let me. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. JD,
Easy,
remember
just
when
don't go.
like JD, you're old enough to remember this. Remember when like you couldn't reserve seats at the movie theater?
Yeah.
And like remember like you had to like stand in line for like 4 hours to get halfway decent seats?
My mother remembers doing that for when Star Wars opened.
Which Star Wars?
I think the first one that came out, which would then be number 4.
Okay, so that was 1977.
Yeah.
That's why when I was younger, we never went during opening weekend.
See,
We always
we
wait, like, at least a
always
month.
went during opening weekend. So for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, it was nuts, dude. Like that was crazy. Like actually, all the Harry Potters were crazy, but like Chamber of Secrets, it was just like wrapped around the block. My friend's mom like drove because there was a Taco Bell across the street. She drove and got us all Taco Bell. Like we were still waiting in line.
Yeah, I mean, you were waiting for 2 hours at a time, probably longer than that, depending on how many theaters are playing it in.
Oh, dude, it was terrible, dude. And then when you finally got in for episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, literally people were like they had tents.
Yeah, I mean, people camped out. Literally.
But I think there's like a funness to that. I think there's like a fun element. I think like
There
you gain
was.
something and then you lose something.
had
You know
fun.
what I mean?
Yeah, you had fun while doing it. It might have been a long time that you were waiting, but you were with friends. You were spending the time with friends. You were out. It's not like nowadays where no one leaves their house really for most things.
Dude, today is so nice. JD, remember when like there were no 7 o'clock showings? You had to go to the midnight premiere if you were gonna see it.
Yep.
I mean, that sounds fun just because it's at midnight. I couldn't do that because I would have to be up in the morning for work, depending on the day.
Oh no, dude!
I-
For The Dark Knight Rises, okay. Actually, I'm trying to think what movies I saw at midnight. Dark Knight Rises, Sherlock Holmes 2. I've seen quite a few actually, but it was just so much
I had-
work.
I had to see Endgame at midnight, and that's like a 3-hour long movie. So I was at the movie theater till like 3 a.m. and it was on like a school night too.
Oh my goodness, dude! I saw Endgame at Universal Studios.
You gotta make sacrifices. You gotta.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was worth it.
I chose. I'm going to the 10 o'clock Ant-Man movie because I don't want to be up late.
Dude, I'm going to the 5 o'clock.
It's like I can't do anything before 5 p.m. my time. Well, really
Wow.
6 p.m. because I can't get to the theater before like 6.
Hey, you know what the cool thing? Like, I mean, so like I saw The Last Duel in theaters. It was literally me and like another dude. Like we were the only
Just
two
you?
people. Yeah, it was literally just me and another dude. It was hilarious, and like I mean, like I was sitting in my seat, then he was like across the theater. It was pretty funny.
Speaking of Sherlock
Was it
Holmes,
that bad of a movie or was it?
No,
Just
dude, are
had a
you
cool
kidding me, dude?
time.
Last Duel is so good
Then how was it just you and that one?
because historical epics have died. That's in my
Wait,
humble
another
kind of
question.
bringing it full circle.
Another question: why did you go alone?
Because my friend didn't want to go see a historical epic because it's not a Marvel movie.
I couldn't go to the movies alone. For me, going like that just ruins the entire thing.
He's like, okay, he's like, is it Marvel? I'm like, no. He's like, is it Star Wars? He's like, no. Then it's like, dude, he just hung up on me. It's like,
goodbye.
okay, you were saying, speaking of Sherlock Holmes, what were you saying, JD?
Sherlock Holmes 3s.
Yeah, are they making that or what?
They have an
Sherlock Holmes or
IMDb
no-
page about it.
They've had an
Sherlock Holmes,
IMDb page for so long. Hey, you know what else is really good actually? The Kenneth Branagh Poirot movies. If you like mystery movies, they're really good.
I mean, what do you think of Enola Holmes? Since we're on the topic of Sherlock,
It was good. I liked the two Enola Holmes movies. They're fun little like.
exactly, they're fun.
It's not. They're not meant to be like
They're
ultra
not-
serious.
They're not meant to compete with Sherlock Holmes.
I mean, they're literally Sherlock Holmes, but like,
Pretty much. I mean, they featured Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes in it. Both of them.
yeah,
actually.
that was cool. We do have to wrap it up, guys. But closing thoughts, Mr. Elijah.
Depending on the movie that you're making or watching, I seriously think places have to hire someone to get source to actually keep it on track with source material. Otherwise, movies can fail.
Okay, JD.
I'll go based off of that too. one of the movies that I disliked the most because I read all the books was Percy Jackson. I am so glad that Disney and the director, Disney and the author of Percy Jackson are coming out with the series next year.
KDD, closing thoughts. I know there wasn't much for you here, but we were glad you're here, KDD.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say, but I learned a lot listening to you guys talk about this stuff, and I know a lot of movies now that I should probably go watch.
So, okay, good, guys. So thank you guys so much for listening. This has been our longest podcast, so this movie thing might be a thing that we do again. But, yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. As usual, hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and like the video, leave a comment, and then all of the relevant links are going to be in the description. So thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.
Oh, and we're also on Spotify too.
That's right. We're on Spotify. I keep forgetting I got to make the Google and the Apple one, right, JD?
Yeah. So
All
we'll
right,
be soon on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere else that you listen to podcasts. We'll soon be available on there.
This is the Void Playground. I hope you guys have a wonderful time and be good.